Hey guys, it's HoppingHammy, and thanks for joining me on another fun video adventure. Okay, so if you watched my last video talking about Sprocket's wheel obsession, food allergies, and difficulty keeping weight on, you'll already know that I have been limiting his wheel usage in order for him to stay healthy. On the nights where he doesn't have a wheel, his activity level is still very high and he runs all over the DIY cage to the point where I feel he might benefit having an additional tank added on as a second area to explore on those nights. Here's a look at my current setup and you'll see the empty 8-foot tank on top. I was originally saving this tank with the hopes to find a dwarf hamster for adoption later on this year. However, because Sprocket is so active, I've decided to give him the tank instead. As an added bonus, I can use this as his second home whenever I have to spot clean or change up his DIY cage setup, because typically it takes me multiple days since that cage is so big. And this way here, I won't have to feel rushed or stressed out to get it done in a couple of hours. Plus, he will already be familiar with the second tank, so it will be less stressful on him too. Now, you might be wondering how I will connect the two tanks together. Well, I've thought it through for a very long time and decided I will be connecting these tanks with my Habitrail Ovo tubes, as these tubes are probably the largest tubes on the market for Syrian hamsters. I've incorporated these tubes many times with multiple Syrians in past, and I've never had any issues with a hamster getting stuck as the tubes are big enough to turn around in. They also have a very secure locking mechanism which prevents the tubes from coming apart easily, especially when the tubes are built with a structurally stable design where each joint is supported. Now, with all of that said, I realize that a large majority of the hamster community nowadays is adamantly against plastic tubes, citing that they are dangerous and can never be used safely in any situation. But I have to respectfully disagree with that belief, and my experiences with incorporating tubes has been positive. So I don't believe they are automatically dangerous in every situation. I believe when used smartly, correctly, and as a way to add on even more space for a hamster, that they are perfectly fine and can even be beneficial. This is my personal opinion, and it's okay if you don't agree with it, although I would ask that you remain respectful with your comments, but there simply is no other option to attach my setups together. If you have any ideas, please let me know and I'm open to hearing them, but I've thought about making some sort of a ramp, although this isn't possible as the glass tank isn't able to be drilled out. I also can't use PVC tunnels as they're too heavy, slippery, and there's too far of a height to climb. Plus, I can't see where Sprocket is inside of them, and that just makes me nervous. So with the Ovo tubes, they are clear and they're easily viewable to make sure that I can observe Sprocket at all times, including on my security night camera. So for the past month or so, I've been trying out various tube designs for Sprocket where he won't have a huge height to climb up, and there won't be any long downward slopes to fall either. It has taken a lot of experimenting to find a design that he's happy with and that feels secure, but I think I came up with something that will work. I've also been staying up a little later to observe him in the tubes to make sure there are no foreseeable issues, and so far it all seems fine to me. He has turned around inside the tube easily multiple times if he decides to change direction midway, and he is able to grip the inside ridges and control his speed very easily. I also wanted to mention that he is the type of hamster who rarely ever pouches anything in his cheeks, so I'm not worried about him having full cheek pouches and going through the tubes. To finalize my thoughts on this decision, I think with anything we give our hamsters, there can be risks associated, even ones that we may not always think of or know about. However, we can't avoid everything in life simply because of potential risks, right? We also have to weigh out what is the reward from this. In this situation, I feel the reward of Sprocket having an additional large area to run and explore far outweighs any minor concerns I might have regarding the tubes. I'm actually far more concerned about him getting stressed from boredom when he doesn't have a wheel versus him having issues with the tubes. But with all of that said, I promise you guys, if there are any major concerns or issues that arise from using the tubes, I will detach them and go back to having him in just the DIY cage. I also am not encouraging or advocating for other hamster owners to start using tubes for their hamsters either, especially if there's no major reason to use them. But with Sprocket's unique situation and health concerns I am dealing with for him, I personally think it's worth a try. So I will definitely show you guys the setup I come up with for that tank, and it's quite a difficult tank to design simply because it's so long and narrow, and most Syrian-sized items are really big. So it's gonna be a fun challenge, and my hope is that it does benefit Sprocket. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. I really appreciate you all listening and following along on my hamster journey. And Sprocket has been such a unique hamster from all of my previous ones, so it's been a good challenge to come back and learn new opportunities for me to have him to find solutions to some of these tricky issues. So anyways, I'll see you all in my next video, and thanks for watching. Bye!